Beyond Bitcoin Hangouts are meant to give everyone a voice, a chance to speak with others who are passionate advocates for expanding the blockchain's use cases out into the world and beyond. Do you have a crypto community you would like to represent and hold open hangouts for? If so, you might find yourself on the path to owning a stake in Beyond Bitcoin. We are looking for people who care about people who want to bring others together, because crypto communities are people. Beyond Bitcoin is a movement of thinkers and doers in the crypto space. And if you feel you are one of them, reach out to beyondbitcoin@gmail.com for more information on how to debut your community's efforts to reach to the stars and beyond.
Welcome everyone to another Beyond Bitcoin Hangout. This is episode 210, and today is Friday, June 2017. Welcome to the community that founded BitShares, that founded Steem, and is now a very strong part of Peer Plays, and will be part of the EOS chains that come out in the future. So we have been around since the very beginning, since the days when BitShares was just a sparkle in the eye of a man named Dan Larimer and the teams of people who helped him build what he built. And now we have a community that likes to get together every week over the course of the past 4 years, where we cover all of the archives, the information that's going on within the community. Now, with that said, we have always kept to the philosophy of enabling people to have a voice in a world where often they have to pay to have one. So because of that philosophy, Steem was built and inspired to be built for the Beyond Bitcoin community and for other people who are interested in building communities around them. So we now use this incredibly powerful tool called Steem, a blockchain that is a social media blockchain that enables us to not only get paid by the community via upvotes, but also enables us to gauge the level of trust in people who RSVP for our posts every week. So if you have people who trust you and you're working on a cool project, feel free to RSVP every week under the Beyond Bitcoin tag at our most recent RSVP threads and ask those who trust you to upvote you every week. Over time, the trust that you gain will be worth far more than any single cryptocurrency. So with that said, we have different people who are joining up this week for our humble little hangouts to provide updates on what their projects are and what they are doing in the ecosystem that is launching all these world-class enterprise level blockchains that solve all the problems that Bitcoin is trying to solve. This week, we're going to be talking to Steem. He's going to be providing updates for the Gridcoin community that he runs. After that will be the Kyle, and he has created a cool little search engine that uses Steem blockchain. So it actually is called AskSteem.com, and he will be talking about that today. After that will be JP Henderson, who's going to be talking a little bit about our WhaleShares project. After that will be Richard Krill working on a project called Steemfest Dreams. So with that said, we're going to start with every one of these guest speakers today, give them the opportunity to provide updates and introductions, and then move on to community questions and conversation. And then after that, after all of these are done, we will then have an after party. So we look forward to going through this today and getting the updates, hearing the questions, getting the participation, and also participating in the after party where everybody has a kind of free-for-all opportunity to talk about what they would like to talk about. Now, with that said, CM Steem is up first today, and he's going to be giving updates on the Gridcoin project and the community that backs it.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Thanks for having me again on the Beyond Bitcoin Hangout. So if you've not heard about Gridcoin before, guys, Gridcoin is a cryptocurrency which securely rewards point computation. This is volunteer distributed computing, and aiming to cure diseases, map the Milky Way, search extraterrestrial life and stuff. We reward this computation on top of proof of stake. So anyone can create a BOINC project And by doing so, you effectively create a distributed cloud service of your own desire. Whatever you can think of, you can pretty much do with a Docker container. And we will reward your users on your behalf, as opposed to you having to go and pay for computation up front like our competitors are doing, which is illogical. So I'll be talking about some trading information, some stuff about the community and development, as well as a shout out to some high quality Steemit posts this week.
Awesome.
So yeah, totally. With regards to trading, so this week Gridcoin has hit several new all-time high values. We're floating around 6.5 or 6.6 cents at the moment per Gridcoin. That's a market cap of like almost $26 million. It's been achieved with a 6 to 7 figure trading volume throughout the week. So comparing our recent all-time high surge to the previous all-time high surge in May the 10th, the recent change has been like, 6, 7 figures over the course of the week, gradual. Whereas the May 10th all-time high was a very bursty 7 or 8 figure trading value within a short 48-hour window. So, we experienced a drop-off after that May 10th, and then it's gradually built up. So, if anyone's bought Gridcoin, before my last appearance last week, you've made over 100% profit. Woo!
Nice.
Yeah, definitely. So pay attention, guys. Gridcoin's currently listed as rank between 24, 25 on CoinGecko, which is really cool. And I've put the best thing for you to do when you're listening to this is to follow my RSVP thread, because I've got loads of links and stuff if you're listening to this after the fact. But I've added a couple lists, content related to market cap and stuff like that people have done on Steemit. Right, on to community stuff. Team Gridcoin has created several Boink Stats challenges. So these are Boink competitions. These are for the Rosetta at Home project, Citizen Science, Asteroids at Home, and Cosmology at Home. So these are for the next few weeks. And there's also a few other challenges that others have created. So there's quite a big community in the Boink community. We're trying to reach out. That should be good fun. The Gridcoin community has continued holding Hangouts on a fortnightly basis. The next Hangout is the 32nd Hangout, and this is on the 10th of June, which is tomorrow. This is at 9 p.m. British summertime. So in my RSVP post, please do compare that to your own time zone so we do not have any mix-ups over times. But everyone's welcome to join. Everyone has a say, Analyzing the individual Boink user leaderboard, the two Gridcoin pools, Katie's Pool and grcpool.com, are in the top 20 leaderboard at the moment. So Katie's Pool is 11th and GRC Pool is 15th place. So this is really cool. A lot of these users are users that don't have Gridcoin and stuff, and it's interesting to see that they have a lot of computing power at their disposal. We've got 112 Gridcoin community tasks. Some include bounties for developing the neural network mechanism. So that's got 200k Gridcoin, which is $12,000 at the moment. Many of these tasks are simple, some are difficult. Completing these tasks earns you major kudos in the community, and anyone can create a task. It's just effectively just create an issue with something you think would be cool to do with Gridcoin, and people will talk about it. Community members are trading Gridcoin for Steem games and keys. We're investigating how we can streamline this process. Existing CD key websites, even if we can get them to add Gridcoin, that'd be really cool if we could get G2A or Kinguin or something like that to add Gridcoin. I believe Kinguin and G2A already accept Bitcoin, but considering Bitcoin's no longer good for microservices, you're having to pay a bigger fee than the game costs. It's illogical. So hopefully they'll start looking elsewhere. Telegram group chat updates. So the main Gridcoin Telegram group has increased 16 users to 145 members. So come along to the Telegram groups. They're pretty lively. With regards to development news, we've got, as I mentioned last week, we've experienced a growth in the quantity of volunteer developers working on the Gridcoin client, codebase. This trend has continued, and many of the proposals for change that I mentioned last week are actively being worked on, which is really cool to see. So Gridcoin's really taking shape. It's cool. With regards to client releases, as I've said in the last couple of Hangouts that we expect leisure updates. So a new client release has been released, 3.5.9.0. It's added new RPC commands. It's added theme support through CSS. It's upgraded OpenSSL support, Linux support, and auto-to-text BOINC, so you no longer have to manually change files to point it the right direction, or directory even. Some changes: we've improved we've hardened the security of the voting system because we rely on it for quite a few things, like voting in new projects, voting on expenses. So as soon as that's fully hardened, we can look towards automation. So that would be really cool. We've done some wallet overview cleanup. So it used to be that the text was all jammed up together, and now it's spread out and easy to read. So I really like that change. There's 7 translations have been updated. More are on the way. So this is a high priority because we really got to expand into the global market. We've got some BOINC beacon fixes. So basically, you register your BOINC account on the blockchain. There were some issues that many users were having, which are being eradicated, which is excellent. Hopefully, we'll no longer have to deal with these kind of issues, and it'll be a more streamlined process for the majority of our user base. There's additionally some further RAM usage reduction. So more RAM goes towards your computations instead of to the client. And there's also been a bunch of code cleanup, so removing old code that's no longer used again, which is good. And additional client releases are on the way because, as I said, we've got loads more volunteer developers who are quite passionate about the work that they do. So it's exciting times for the development of Gridcoin. Finally, with regards to shoutouts to high-quality Steemit posts, we've got Vortax's post where he talks about, the title is even, while crypto is booming, scientists across the world lack the computing power to find a cure for diseases which can affect us all. Effectively, a lot of people around the world are seeking funding to even be able to think about doing huge computation tasks. Potentially, what could have been a cure could be, shelved for like a decade or something crazy. It's just anecdotal, but it's a really good article. It basically says that, why not create a volunteer computing BOINC project where effectively you minimize the cost of research, and hopefully we can really push towards advanced research being, aided through BOINC and Gridcoin effectively. Steemit has made 2 posts that are really good. First off, Gridcoin and distributed work on BOINC. He explains, the BOINC web server, how to set it up. It points to, Marius, who's the Cosmology at Home admin. His video on how to set up the BOINC server through Docker is really informative. And his other post was, is a concept enough and better than an actual working platform? Where he compares effectively, Golem to Gridcoin, how Golem is, speculative. It doesn't have anything in production. Yeah, it's $400 million. It's crazy. Whereas with BOINC, you can, with a day's work, start distributing Docker containers to volunteers who you don't have to pay. In fact, we will pay rather than you having to go and pay to run a Docker container somewhere, So, yeah, excellent. Please do keep creating excellent Steemit content, guys. So that is the end of what I have to say today. Does anyone have any questions to ask me?
I do, but I'm going to go ahead and I'll leave a short period of silence for anybody else who might want to speak up. Gridcoin it's starting to be more and more interesting. I feel like it's going to be noticed very much like BitShares is, but I'll shut up now.
Well, yeah, we have an uptrend at the same time as Steem and BitShares. We're kind of piggybacking to a certain degree. But yeah, any questions regarding Gridcoin, BOINC, distributed computing?
I just have a quick comment about it. I'm still trying to learn as much as I can about this stuff. It's one feedback I give you is, and this is not your fault at all because you know so much about everything about this particular topic. But I find that if you say like 3 or 4 sentences, you'll drop about maybe 5 or 6 keywords that represent what you're talking about. Like you'll talk about a Docker container and BOINC and the this and the that. And after you hear about maybe 7 or 8 of these words used in like 2 or 3 sentences, it kind of like it gets confusing. So I implore you to maybe find a way to be able to talk about it in a more generalized term without saying the word Docker container or Boink or something like that for all us newbies who are trying to learn, and just come with the business sense part of it and try to see if you'd be like, well, basically, for all those people that are running computations for cancer or for this or for that, like if you I'd be like, oh, computations and cancer, everybody knows what that is. They might not know what a Boink is or a Docker container, but I think you might catch a lot more new people that will spend the time to learn what those words mean.
Yeah, definitely. There's two ways of looking about it. There's the when we're talking about Docker containers and stuff, we're targeting people who have a need for a lot of computation power to be computed versus talking to someone who wants to just run some computation on their computer. With regards to like Docker containers, I could simplify it to like if you've got a lot of computation you need, performed, you can run a server where you distribute like a virtual machine, or is effectively just a contained environment where your task will run, and that will run securely on many volunteers' computers, and they will return the work to you, usually in a replica manner, so that you can prevent people sending you back fake results, and you can massively reduce the cost of computation. Effectively, it's free, and Gridcoin will pay your volunteers so that they have an incentive to continue crunching for you.
So you can... Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Last question. Does Gridcoin have like a Bitcoin type wallet that I can download? Because right now I have Gridcoin, but I keep it on an exchange and I don't want to leave it there. So I can download a Gridcoin wallet. I don't have to run a node to do computations. I can actually just hold my Gridcoins in a Gridcoin wallet and look at it on my computer. Is that how it works?
Yes. The Gridcoin wallet is a separate piece of software from the Boink client. It's a separate entity, so you can't just run the Gridcoin wallet to store funds on it. There's also, like, we've got Nomi, we've also got BitShares support, so you could store it on your web wallet or BitShares Lite wallet or Android wallet, so you name it,
So that would be a multi-wallet, can hold multiple currencies, is what you just said.
Yes, we've got several multi-wallets. These are the BitShares wallets and Coinomi. If you don't want to run, the Windows or Linux Gridcoin core client.
Yeah.
Thank you.
At its roots, for the newbies out there who want to know boiling down Gridcoin, it's one of the first. Well, it's the first proof of stake coin that I saw that actually had the intent of a large spectrum of use cases for distributing the coin. Because the cool thing is, we've been sitting here for so long talking about ASIC resistance and all that stuff, right? But have we ever thought that maybe it's not about the algorithm and the chipset and all this stuff as much as it is about the methods of distribution and whether they reflect what is valuable to us, humanity? Right? Because that's really what we're getting at. We should be distributing tokens to people who provide things of value to us, right? And it costs us nothing, because this is largely a volunteer kind of project, just like all cryptocurrencies are, right? So Boink created a protocol where essentially you could come up with your own subjective things that you wanted to be quantified and tested and checked or crunched or anything that your computer's little brain can do. And your computer loves doing that. So it's cool being like enslaved to the task that it likes, because it's like us liking breathing, right? It's like, please let me breathe. I'll breathe it indefinitely, and we are taking that off of the backs of us humans, and we're putting it into the hands of essentially, or the brains, the computational brains of large amounts of computers out there. You can be a little guy or a guy or a girl with a huge network of computers that works on this stuff. So my favorite one will always be finding aliens. And I still hope that you guys come up with like a huge bounty on it, because
that'd be cool.
It's one of those things, man. You just don't have to worry about paying it out. And if you do, then it's frigging worth it. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So it's completely honest. Like, you found aliens, okay, you win. And everybody's like, holy shit, they just got 1 billion grid coins. Yeah, quadrupled the supply. It doesn't matter. But anyway, does anybody else have any questions or comments? Boink. Boink as a name itself, it's memorable.
Yeah, it stands for the Berkeley Open Infrastructure for Network Computing. So BOINC is way simpler. With regards to, the distribution to many users, I do agree. We do cast quite a large net at the moment, but when we remove the team requirement, we aim to, reward hundreds of thousands of users with Gridcoin, which is the goal. And, in the past, there's been like 4 million BOINC users. There's just not been an incentive thus far for many of these users to continue crunching, so they forget about it. So it's not unlikely that in the future we'll have, hundreds of thousands to potentially millions of BOINC users who will be able to earn Gridcoin. And you were talking about ASIC resistance and stuff like that, and I mentioned it last week. Like if we find that competition really ramps up, if Gridcoin increases in value and people start porting CPU work to GPU, there's always room for new projects, to be sponsored effectively by Gridcoin who only do CPU work or GPU work or specific sensors, so you wouldn't have to compete against a data center. You could have a weather sensor pointed at the window or something. So lots of opportunities.
And this really goes into, in my mind, the protocol layer that's going to connect with Internet of Things. Because what we're doing is we're trying to build transactional layers for that, right? At least that's what I believe we're doing, or a large part of it. Because now the physical world is more and more spreading into the digital world, which is a quasi-physical world, but we won't get into that. But the thing is, it's creating a mesh for us and an interconnectivity, a level of interconnectivity that might have only been matched by email, right? And the internet itself. So it's this next phase is pretty big deal, and we've been so focused on the small stuff when, like you said, projects like Golem out there, or Golem, because I like to call it Golem. It promises things, but it's going to charge too. And this is kind of, if you are a person who really is for changing the world, I don't see how you miss this one.
Yeah, ultimately, you could go and spend tens of thousands of dollars at Golem to get something crunched, whereas you could, spend $1,000 to run a BOINC server and, for several years and get free computation. It really does undercut Golem significantly. And it's interesting to see how highly valued they are despite not having anything in, production yet, really, to a certain degree. I guess we'll see the real competition heat up when we do remove the team requirement.
Yeah, I think it's only going to be a matter of time. You guys suffer from the same thing that BitShares has, which is that you are so far ahead of the curve that the space kind of is still stuck on, these are like points. There's a dog on a coin. That's valuable. Those are the types of things. That's why things like PayPay coin exist and actually have value, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of just like trading cards, and these things are always going to be valuable to somebody, no matter what the tech is, just because it's shiny to them. But there's an increasing base of people with sophistication in this space, if you've noticed, and it's starting to ramp up, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting to see all the competition out there. There's like over 1,000 cryptocurrencies at this point, and many are, it's perplexing why they've gotten so high. But any other questions regarding BOINC, Gridcoin?
I noticed that you have a Gridcoin market pegged asset or something on BitShares, but there's nobody selling any of them. So there's no sellers, and there's just some holders, I guess. I don't know if you're going to end up with a liquidity bot that's going to buy and sell or something to give it some movement. But if I wanted to trade some of my BTS for that, I can't.
No, you can't. Unfortunately, that was created over a year ago at this point, and we experienced a spike and then a dip in the market cap of Gridcoin. So it triggered a black swan event, and currently there is no recovery mechanism for a black swan within the BitShares network. Unfortunately, there is an open BitShares improvement proposal that I fully support. However, with regards to cryptocurrency based market pegged assets, I think they are quite volatile and they will repeatedly black swan. So I'm not sure if that's something we should really chase, as opposed to doing, side chains or something in the future. I'd really I prefer side chains to a certain degree.
I think next week it would be really terrific, and this is just my suggestion, is if you could bring that topic up during the BitShares Hangout next week, and let's discuss about that worker proposal that you're talking about, and give your Gridcoin an example of why that's important, and so then that way we can really focus on it. I think that'd be terrific, because for me, I'm already very heavily into BitShares, and buying something on BitShares is way easier than for me to try and have to download a separate wallet and all that kind of stuff. I'd rather just own a user-issued asset token.
Well, there is already the open.grc token. It's Gridcoin using the Open Ledger gateway that you can use.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Yeah, no worries. But I do agree with regards to BitShares improvement proposal support. It'd be cool if we could, do bounty proposals rather than having to wait for a worker to do a proposal, because it's doing bounties is more of a way to advertise the task rather than waiting for someone to think they could maybe do it but be too afraid to ask for money, in the first place, which I think might be holding the many of the BitShares improvement proposals back. Cool. Anyone else?
Well, I will ask you before we close up here, how do people contact you guys? And also, you have a Hangout that you run in this server for Gridcoin as well.
Yes, the Hangout is tomorrow at 9 p.m. British Summer Time. Check your own time zone for that. Everyone's welcome to join. We're on, our main forums, CryptoCoin Talk. We've got our Telegram groups. I think IRC is one of the main places to talk to people, but now Telegram has got a rival amount of people there, so either or is good. And hope to see you guys in the Hangout, and thanks for having me again this week, Fuzzy. I look forward to future Hangouts.
Yep, and I wanted just to say I thank you guys for joining up every week. It's really important to let people know that in this space, a lot of projects get really flashy banners, and they get people who go and insert themselves into telegrams and all these different social media avenues to what we call pump and hype coins. And this can be a very valuable skill to have if you want to play a short-term game of making money. But a lot of people who are more interested in slow, steady, solid value creation. Growing an oak to be, 80 years old before you cut it down, and having something really that lasts because of it. Those types of people are the ones who you're going to see coming into these types of hangouts and going out there to talk about it. A lot of the places that you see in media in cryptocurrency, they are quite literally paid to talk about the cryptocurrencies that they're working on, and you're not allowed to have coverage unless you pay them. So it's important that you really help the people who are trying to earn trust and who are actually providing accountability and transparency to the processes of building and evolving communities. Because what we're doing here, and the people who build those foundations, are going to bring a lot of people into the future and empower them in ways that I suspect we're going to have our minds blown in the next 10 years. So with that said, support them in any way you possibly can. That doesn't always mean money, but you can follow them also on Gridcoin, CM Steem. You are CM Steem on Steem as well, right?
Yes.
CM-Steem. Okay, well, with that said, we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to Kyle, who's going to be talking about AskSteem. Are you here today?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Oh, you got yourself set up real well, man.
Oh, well, glad everything's clear. All right, yes.
So why don't you start out by giving us a little intro on you, how you got into cryptocurrency, Steem, and then get into your project.
Yeah, sure. Well, my name is Kyle. I had heard about Steem through some articles and some videos on various video sharing sites a while back, and I had just kind of been browsing through it and looked it looked interesting, so I signed up back in January of this year. And then recently, I've been a little bit more active than I had been in the past, and I've been really digging a little bit deeper into kind of the core chain technology and how it works, and some of the really great ways that developers can very easily build their own applications on top of the Steem blockchain without having to worry about a lot of the underlying stuff like user authentication and content management and doing backups and things like that. And then I figured, since there is this really awesome ability to build these applications on top of the Steem blockchain, people are probably at some point going to need some way to search through all these applications, and that's where the idea for AskSteem, which is a search engine that indexes the content from the Steem blockchain, kind of came from, and that's live now at www.asksteem.com. So really where I think AskSteem is going to be powerful is in the future, because of how easy it is to build applications on top of the Steem blockchain. In a sense, it really is just building a UI on top of a backend that's just provided to you for free. And it's very fast. And one of the cool things that you can do if you're building one of these applications is you can inject your own custom metadata into posts on the Steem blockchain. And then what AskSteem will do is it will take in that metadata. You can find documentation on our website for exactly how to make sure your posts are AskSteem compatible. And it will direct links in our search results directly to your application. And kind of the core idea there is that whatever application creates posts on the Steem blockchain is probably also going to have the best interface of actually viewing those posts. So, for example, right now there's a couple different applications that are built on top of the Steem blockchain. There's Steemit.com, obviously. There's busy.org. There's another application called ChainBB, which is kind of a message board type of thing. And then there's an up-and-coming project called Zapple, which is going to be a microblogging platform. And all of these different applications are going to have their own specific kind of type of content. As an example, Zapple, which is going to really kind of specialize in short form, microblog, no more than a couple hundred type of content. It's going to really be best to view that content on Zapple's own web interface rather than on something like Steemit or on something like busy.org. And so, assuming Zapple includes some AskSteem compatible metadata in posts created by that application, we will be able to direct users directly to Zapple instead of directing them to any of the other applications. And the same for any other application built on top of the Steem blockchain, assuming they include that AskSteem compatible metadata, we can send traffic to them under the assumption that they will have the best interface for viewing whatever content it is that they're contributing.
So you guys are going to become kind of like the Google for these different apps that are built, essentially.
Right, yeah, well, in a way, we are a search engine. Yes, really, we think of ourselves as kind of our mission, I suppose you could say, is just helping people to find the best viewing or the most optimized experience for specific content on the blockchain, in order to discover these new applications that are based on the blockchain. So I suppose you could compare us to something of, a search engine for the blockchain, yeah.
So I'm assuming... Okay, so I'm assuming, and I'm just going to let you know, there's wind going into your mic somehow. So I muted you, just so you know, so you're not wondering. Are you guys going to be focusing? I'm assuming you will, but maybe I'm wrong. On the analytics of all this stuff, is that one of the features and how people are going to kind of know what is the stuff that's best for them to look at?
Well, yeah, I mean, we are keeping track of, all sorts of data to do with the blockchain, and we're keeping track of, well, we're not yet, but in the future, I'd like to implement some features to keep track of click data in order to, see which particular posts are getting the most clicks for which particular queries. And I'm not sure if this is what you were talking about, but obviously we are going to put a lot of money into making our ranking algorithm the best that it can be, given the information that we have, which is things like upvotes and the comment count. And we in the future we'd like to analyze the actual quality of not only the content of the posts, but also of the content of the comments. And using all sorts of different things that we can get our hands on to rank these posts in order to figure out, which ones are going to be the highest quality.
It's going to be, the whole concept. As soon as I see it, the reason I brought all this up was the reason when I look at it is when I go to AskSteem, it says no ads, no spying, just search, right? And I think of this as a great place to start a competitor to people like Google, since that's one of the biggest things right now, right? I guess another question that comes to mind from this is then no ads, no spying, and just search, right? But at the same time, if you guys are going to be using algorithms to define something like quality, will those algorithms be open for people to see? Or are they going to be something that is the code is hidden and it's not available for people to know how it's judged?
All right. Well, unfortunately, one of our plan is to kind of keep the core ranking algorithm and exactly how we weight all these different things a little bit of a secret. And the reason for that is simply so that people aren't able to game the system, right? Because if people can look at the algorithm, they can see exactly what factors we're taking into account and which factors are weighted in which ways, then people are going to be able to say, okay, if we really emphasize creating a bunch of fake accounts to create upvotes, then that's because that's a pretty big factor in their algorithm, for example, then we might be able to get our post up to the top for this particular search query. And also the fact that, in the future, I don't know exactly how far I want to go with this, but it is possible that we may use, some sort of kind of machine learning type of neural network solution to start ranking these things. And in that case, it's really, it's going to be difficult to put something like that up on, a site like GitHub, because most of it is just from the data, right? Without the data, it's just useless.
It's nothing, It'll be interesting. And the reason why I bring this up, it's not to be hard on you or anything. It's just that we often talk about this type of technology, like to a degree, almost like it's a utopia and we can do no wrong with it. You know what I mean? But let's face it, there's some big questions we have to ask ourselves as we move forward with these things, and asking ourselves, what we stand for, what this technology, the limits are for all this stuff. So I like to ask these questions just to kind of get an idea of where you guys are coming from and what your thoughts on the subject are. I kind of land on the thoughts that transparency is pretty important, but I can also see where you're coming from. My biggest thought, I guess, to what you say would be, I think ultimately, at least without the neural networks, and maybe, actually, that might not even be the case. If the data is held by a single entity, for instance, or accessible to only a small group of people, they're going to have an upper hand. But there's also the possibility that, there are a lot of smart people out there, right? So if somebody figures out and reverse engineers the algorithms, those are questions I'm not prepared to answer myself. And I just think that those are things that are very important questions to ask. And it's interesting to see where you guys come at from that angle. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And, it is important, I think, to keep in mind that even though we are keeping the algorithm itself kind of secret and kind of to ourselves, most of the data, I'm saying, a good 95% of the data that we're actually using within the algorithm is just completely public on the blockchain, right? This is just things like upvotes and comments and the actual quality of the content itself. So anybody, can come and try their hand at creating, a competing algorithm if they'd like. There's nothing necessarily proprietary about the data itself. We do, there, like I did say, it's 95% that public stuff. There is that kind of 5% that we create ourselves, like keeping track of which posts people click on for which queries, and that's kind of what we're going to keep to ourselves. But I don't think that's necessarily going to be something that's going to make or break an algorithm when, the 95% of the data is just publicly available on the blockchain there.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, like, when we have things like private transactions for BitShares, I suspect it will leak over quite quickly to Steem and to these other chains that are based on these technologies. So have you guys thought at all about how that might play into this when those types of things happen? Because it seems like you guys have the angle of no ads and no spying is great. Whenever this happens, will you guys have to change anything?
Given our current algorithms for ranking things, I don't think that any sort of kind of privatized transactions like you were talking about will cause a serious impact to the way we're doing it right now, because we don't necessarily even need to know who is upvoting who or anything like that. Maybe in the future that could cause problems if we ever decide to, weight different upvotes differently depending on like reputation score or something. We might need to know, who's creating those transactions. But as it stands right now, I don't think that would cause any issues for our algorithm, since it's mostly focused on the actual quality of the content, and that is still going to be public even in a private transaction kind of system.
Inertia said maybe your tagline should be, "We don't kiss and tell."
I like that one.
Yeah.
Have to you got to pull them out when somebody says something. Now, I'm going to go ahead. It looks like Custom Miner's asking a question in here. Custom, you want to speak up and ask it?
Yeah, I got a couple of things to ask. So have you thought of like the explicit feedback options that you could provide to users so they could filter down what they want to return in their results?
Oh, yeah, actually, well, I'm not sure if this is entirely what you're talking about, but, we do allow people to kind of filter by, specific tags, specific authors. You can filter by exactly how many upvotes or downvotes you want. You can filter by the number of comments that you would like posts to have. The ability for people to really define how they want to filter the results through the search box. It's a very robust kind of syntax language that's built in there, and I've got an entire post about that on my Steemit blog if you'd like to take a look, and it shows all the different types of queries that you can perform.
How about mentions?
Mentions, well, we don't have anything explicitly for that, but theoretically, I suppose if you were to just perform a kind of an exact match search, which you can do by putting the query in quotation marks of your username, that should return all the posts that have mentioned your username specifically in the body of the post.
I just think to myself, this is the perfect place to to add on different apps that are backed by the Steem blockchain. I mean, you could almost have like a Google Play and all these different services that branch off.
Well, I like the idea of like, what you said with all this information I got that shows, like a Google Trends, stuff that'll help me as a content creator, help me develop my content more for the viewers I have, or it helps me see what's trending so I can adjust my content.
Good point.
Yeah, we could definitely do something. We do. We don't keep track of who searches for what, but we do keep track of how many people are searching for specific things. So we could definitely make that data publicly available and say, these are the most searched queries.
Just a suggestion would be, and I really appreciate like a Steemit post on this. You've got a new follower for sure. Is like stop word removal during like your lexical analysis and during your query processing, like removing like the small words like the like at sign and stuff. Because you include like or the or of in your query, it then returns like several 100,000 results. Dropping the precision.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, it's interesting. We don't necessarily handle that ourselves. The back end of AskSteem is a stack called Elasticsearch. It's very popular, and it handles a lot of that stuff just natively for us. So if you are interested in the algorithm that we're using for that, I believe Elasticsearch is open source, and you can go take a look at that.
Cool. Look into that. Thanks, man.
Anyone else have any questions or comments? Okay, well, I guess this is probably a really good time for us to close up this segment. But if anybody wants to reach out to you, Mikhail, how do they do so?
Yeah, well, obviously, if you're interested in trying out AskSteem, it's just www.asksteem.com. If you want to reach me personally, I'm on Steem. My username is @thekyle. I've got a lot of posts related to changes that we might be making, new features related to AskSteem. And also, if you are a developer who's has any questions about making your application AskSteem compatible, or even if you are a developer developing an application on the Steem blockchain and you need some sort of search API to integrate into your application, you can get to us through by emailing contact@asksteem.com is the address.
Thank you very much, man. And we look forward to hearing more updates from you and learning a little bit more, because we are, almost all of us in here are kind of nerds in this area, and we love to see the use cases, thus the name Beyond Bitcoin, right? Because for a long time we've seen these use cases that we knew would emerge, but that the market wasn't quite ready for. And we love to hear the story of people who are building. Because you guys are the what I call the diamonds that we find when we go through the ash and coal. We find these diamonds, and those are the people who are building stuff. They're the 20% of the people who are out there while everybody else is complaining and yelling. They're in the arena, right? And I really appreciate what you're doing. I love the site already. It's when I search, it's quick. And I look forward to hearing more about it, man. We'll definitely be also giving you some WhaleShares after this. Like, we're going to be giving all guest speakers from now on a large number of WhaleShares, so they can either pay them to people who create content about what they're doing or upvote their own content. So you guys will be receiving those. Make sure you have a BitShares account so you can use them to get the upvotes. And with that said, we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to the Walrus, who's going to be talking, aka JP Henderson, who's going to be talking a little bit about WhaleShares today as a project. Can't hear you, buddy. Okay. While he's getting himself set up here, yeah, we still can't hear you, buddy. Do you have that mic? That mic yet? Oh, I need to send you some money too, by the way, remind me. Can anybody else hear him?
No, I can't.
Okay, just making sure. While we're waiting, I'm just going to say something because it's funny. More and more I think about this. When BitShares was ProtoShares and AngelShares to get invested into actually building this stuff, this server used to have 4 people every week in it. It was Dan, me, oftentimes Xerox, and a couple other people from the community would come in and out. And we started out so small, and we knew what we knew, and we knew that eventually people would see it. We also knew that there was a phase, stages that people would have to go through to realize what we knew without attacking and killing us. But we're starting to get there, everybody. And I think you guys are going to start seeing Hangouts and all these different things blowing up. And you're going to see with the community tokens that people are going to be able to have, you're going to see all kinds of cool Hangouts that pop up. So if you find them and you find good people who are doing cool shit, yeah, I said cool shit, not cool things, cool shit. People who are just out there doing whatever they can to build stuff. Bring them on. If they have their own Hangouts, bring them on. Let's get people who are interested and care about this stuff. And I'll just leave it with that. Walrus, are you... I think I heard something. Oh, no, that's Richard Crew. No, you're okay. Do you have your mic set up too? I can always edit this chunk out. These chunks are actually easy to edit out, or a lot easier than trying to edit out a bunch of stuff.
I think so. Can you hear me okay?
Perfectly, man. Walrus, you are a techie who has the hardest time with your mic. I'm sorry to say it, but it's quite humorous. To know the things that you can do and that you have this struggle with your mic, man, is like...
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. I don't know what was going on. I just turned stuff off and turned...
No, dude, you're good. Okay, let's go ahead and let's pretend like none of that happened. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to move into... Walrus is going to be talking today about WhaleShares. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let you step up and provide maybe an introduction and give a little bit of information about what WhaleShares is and maybe open it up to community questions.
Yeah. That's mainly what I was here for, was to answer questions, because a lot of people had a lot of questions. But for those who don't know what WhaleShares is a token me and Fuzzy created, and some other people, that
El Mato.
Yeah. Where you can with the token, you can use it to upvote your post or somebody else's posts with official Fuzzies, the official Fuzzy account.
And I just want to make it clear that Block Trades has delegated Steem power to this initiative because he has seen us and been part of this community for quite some time as well. And he knows what we do with it, and what we're going to do with it is going to benefit the entire ecosystem. So if there are other whales who are interested in delegating some of their Steem power toward this, we have no problems with giving WhaleShares in return for that if you would like to join up. And we're planning on bringing on board having new Hangouts where we distribute for Whale Tank and stuff, which that's another thing that maybe you could talk a little bit too about, Walrus.
Yep. I also wanted to add that we're also making it so whales can issue their own tokens and use our service too.
Yes, and that's after the beta, correct?
Yeah, which will be probably in a week or two, something like that.
Well, what we're doing right now, as far as the distribution phase, we're distributing a bunch of them. I'm learning that a lot of people are holding on to them, which is quite interesting, and that's one of the reasons why people were like, how many tokens exactly are there going to be? And it's like, well, we're going to see. Because I suspected people would hold on to them and kind of hoard them too, right? Like, because there are people who are going to... we kind of have to see that ratio, right?
Yeah. And scarcity isn't what gives it its value. It's the Steem power behind your account. So that the voting power. So how many are in the market isn't really going to affect how much they're worth.
Well, and with that said, what do you say to the people who... because there are people who think that it's colluding, it's gaming the system, it's wrong to sell or to give away these shares.
Yeah, and those people are the ones gaming the system the most, in my opinion, but that's beside the point. But really, it opens it up for new users, minnows, to like get their stuff out and minnows will come in and spend hours on posts and make some really good content and not get the recognition. And while whales they get to vote for each other bots, and they can just be putting out all kind of crap and use it like a mining operation. So this kind of narrows the gap between the whales and the minnows.
Yeah, I like that. And I also like to say that somebody asked in the BitShares Hangout about WhaleShares. They asked the question essentially about buying these shares. And I kind of came to the conclusion a while ago. A lot of people think that Steem is just a completely like a social network where it's a content creation engine and that the quality content should be the number one thing. And I'm not saying that quality content isn't extremely important. I think free market forces will really have a lot to do with that in the future. But with that said, in the ecosystem, it emerged from Dan's idea of something called mutual aid societies, aka MAS. And these MAS chains were considered they're essentially their own DAX, only it's for like a cooperative. Dan described it as everybody brings to a potluck, something, and everybody can take from the potluck. But at the same time, you kind of have to regulate how much you take, and everybody ends up generally at a potluck having way too much food. So in the end, that's kind of how it's planned to be. But with that said, whenever you have stake in these ecosystems, it has to be based on the value you put into them in some way, shape, or form, which Dan realized is both subjective and also market driven in a quantifiable way via the market. So you have a chain where really it's a perfect place for building content creation guilds, guilds for doing different things. Community building is really, I think, how the MAS concept really was designed, and he changed it a little bit to be a social network like Reddit, because we had a history of trying to get in touch with Reddit back in the day and saying you can connect up with BitShares and have an entire economic layer added to Reddit. So this is all the history that goes into it. Sorry, Walrus, but like it's a big question, and a lot of people don't realize that owning Steem power is buying influence in the system. So buying a token, especially if a lot of that's powered up, isn't necessarily bad for the ecosystem.
Yeah, people can just buy Steem if you got, and then they can upvote their own posts and make money that way. So it's not really like buying a token isn't bad for the system in any way. That's basically what you were saying, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm sorry I had to give the history too, but of course, IntelliGuy, you don't even have to put your hand up. It's so sweet of you to do that. But just speak out, man. That's what as long as everybody's cool and we're just, talking, we're good, right?
Okay. When I was I'm still learning about WhaleShares, and I even have 30 WhaleShares in my account. And I have yet to know how to use them or going to use them. I don't even know if I want to use them. I might use them. But anyways, I'm still wrapping my head around this whole thing because I'm more of a basic level person that tries to really fully understand the business model of things before I just plunge into them. When I heard about WhaleShares, the concept seemed to me that people would be getting WhaleShares one way or another. They could either trade them amongst themselves, or they could do things for Beyond Bitcoin, this very radio show here, and get WhaleShares in response for it by being a guest speaker or by doing things. And then as a result, you could have your post, you could cash those WhaleShares in, if you will, by getting the bot, or I don't know if it's a bot, but whatever, the WhaleShares user to upvote your posts. And there seems to be immediately a backlash on that, saying, hey, that's not fair. These people are going to have this huge whale come and upvote their post like that. And that's, what happens if they're making junk posts and they're cashing in WhaleShares for that? Time, if you look at the way people realize the way Steem works now, is that you can actually write a whole bunch of posts and earn Steem power, And then you could upvote, your girlfriend's post or your cousin's post or your brother's post with that Steem power that you've earned. Or you can go to somewhere like Poloniex or Bittrex and you could cash in like $1,000 of US currency to buy Bitcoin and then buy Steem with that. And then use that Steem to power up your user. And then there, you've just changed $1,000 worth of your personal money. And then now you've given yourself a lot of Steem power that you can upvote your friends. And people with access to a lot of US money that want to buy Bitcoin, or people with a lot of Bitcoin, can actually game the system on Steem right now. And for instance, one particular person, which I'm not going to mention any names, wanted to downvote the WhaleShares project. And what they said they did was they went and cashed in and powered up their account through the exchange to be able to have a whole bunch more Steem power to be able to downvote other people's posts. And that is completely the way the system is designed. If you have a lot of money, you can either upvote or downvote anybody you want on Steem. And we kind of need that to happen because that's where Steem gets its value from. If people are going to buy Steem to have a bigger influence on the system, then that gives the value of Steem a bigger punch, right? Now, what stops people from overgaming the system or buying too much is that other people can do that too. So, I mean, it's like this constant tug of war, if you will. Now, where WhaleShares and buying Steem on an exchange become the exact same thing is that if you don't have a lot of money, a lot of US dollars, or a lot of Bitcoin, you could actually earn your WhaleShares doing things that are greater good for the community by, doing things for Beyond Bitcoin and stuff like that. So I fail to see where the difference lies, that if I'm not buying it with money, I'm earning it with good hard work or being a guest speaker or doing things, how it's any different. It's kind of the same thing. It's all the way that it's sold or perceived. And I think that's where the awakening is going to come up from people is they're going to see that it's no different than what already exists now.
Yeah, and I see it also as having, what I always say about it is it decreases friction between the human interaction on the chain, right? Because if Bob, I might be a doctor who has $500,000 in my savings and I want to put $100K into this, but I don't know what it would be like to be a whale. Maybe I'd like, I have this cool hobby and I'd like to build a community. I'd like to pay people a little bit to write about what I'm doing. It's like my little hobby, but I would love to put all my money in it if I could, but I don't know if it's going to be worth it because it's 13 weeks to power down, right? And maybe I want to test it. There's a lot of use cases where this is extremely valuable. Of course, anybody can try to destroy anything, but the cool thing with Steem power is the worst they can do is pay a lot of money to use it and make it very non-valuable and pay to power up the count more and power up the token in the end, right? If you destroy the voting power of it, it's only going to be temporary because of Steem power regeneration. Gamification on steroids, baby. It's the ultimate DKP. And when other whales can create their own, like Walrus is planning on eventually creating his own too, and I think he wants to have a witness that powers it up. I think you guys are going to see us change the game. And you can be part of it, obviously, because you're part of this community. You're here on at this time for some weird reason. You're one of those odd people who wants to talk about this stuff. So I think you've earned it.
What about the fact? Let's talk about the abuse mechanism, because that's what everybody's so freaked out about. Okay, people are saying, okay, what if this guy, he does really well on Beyond Bitcoin, he's a guest speaker all the time, he's earned himself a heck of a lot of WhaleShares, he's like cutting up the archives and reposting them for on SoundCloud, he's working his butt off, but this guy, he can't seem to spell very well. He's copy and pasting existing, stuff from CoinDesk, and he's like a real jerk on Steem. He doesn't deserve any upvotes. But what he's done is he's taken his WhaleShares that he's earned and he's promoted his post to the top of the list now. And it's like, wow, his junky posts are now getting all this attention for money. And then all the new users come in behind and they're like, oh, what's that, a $400 post? Well, I'm going to upvote that because they don't really know that on how the curation rewards work properly. And next thing you know, he's getting paid like $3,000 for this terribly spelled copy pasta post. Now, I don't foresee this being a big problem, but that's what some people are focusing on, is that you can upvote junk posts with WhaleShares. How is that a problem that we need to address or fix? Or how would we address or fix that if that happens?
Well, for one thing, if that happens, like, I think that will get overpowered by downvotes anyway, and he'll have just wasted his WhaleShares.
Agreed.
I think that's a big one. I mean, you essentially have in communities people who act like T cells, right?
I don't know what a T cell is.
Oh, it's a T cell is a cell that goes through and essentially marks for destruction other foreign bodies that are running through the bloodstream.
Like a white blood cell, basically, if you know what that is.
Okay, so basically the entire Steam community, if they see some really terrible junk posts, it'll self-heal itself based on the fact that nobody's going to want to see it, or they're going to get pissed off with that user and they'll downvote them to oblivion. So even if WhaleShares was upvoting a junk post, it's not gonna hold, is what you're saying.
Well,
yeah, pretty much.
And there's the fact that these tokens are also, the value is backed by the community of the creators, right? Because you're going to also eventually going to be able to attach onto, well, anybody can do it right now if they run their own bot, but anybody could attach on their token, onto vote on the tokens that we have. So if you have a bunch of people who are creating really good content, they're utilizing the tokens to get noticed by getting into the hot category or maybe in the trending category. And there's a big community of people who are willing to upvote and back it. And it's genuine quality content most of the time. They're going to you're going to start seeing more and more people are going to say, okay, well, you guys are really good. We want to be on this team with you. We want to share the same token with you. And we're going to be the core team that drives value into this token. We're also going to be some of the people who use it the most to build our own teams, right? So then you have the ability to fund all this stuff without ever having to power down, right? Because like I said, I mean, I have I think it's now probably close to 800K on my Steam account worth of Steam. But I can pay out without ever having to power down to pay it. I can pay out these tokens through these tokens probably close to 500K a year now, just with these tokens, and I never have to power down. So I'm going to be giving them to people like you and Teleguy. I'm going to sell a small amount, but I guarantee you guys, if you ever come and you find somebody who's posting, my example is child porn. Somebody's posting child porn or something and upvoting themselves to make them trend. If you guys tell me, I can always go in and even manually downvote them or take away their upvote. There will be certain
get them arrested.
Well, there's
If
certain
anybody's
things that
posting
just
child porn, please let us know and we'll downvote them to oblivion.
Well, not only that, but they're the stupidest person on earth if they're on here and having their IP logged. But I just try to say, quality is subjective. It says it in the white paper that the rewards are based off of subjective valuation by people who have increasing stake in the ecosystem. I think communities are going to help a lot too. But we're going to be one of the first. And we're going to have Whale Tank. And Walrus is going to be part of that with me. And we're going to be doing that stuff too. So anyway, Walrus, just let me shut up and you can talk about all the stuff that you're doing, because you're doing a lot of cool stuff to distribute it.
I just have one last comment, and then I'll be back on the rest of it.
Sure, man. Sorry.
My recommendation is that we document the use case scenarios as they occur so that we can demonstrate how it's been used properly and well, and why we need this. And the other thing is that I'd also like to mention that there's an account called Null, Null, that gets you in the promoted feed. And that's the same thing again, where instead of you buying Steam Power, you're changing your SBD in to upvote your post to get on the promoted feed. So people are, and what happens if somebody, is there any mechanism that'd be like, hey, look at this guy. He wrote a junk post where he can't spell right and he's copying, pasting other stuff from other sites. But then he went and he spent his SBD to get himself on the promoted feed. And now look what's happening. His post is skyrocketing, and that's not fair because it's a junk post.
Yep, and I can't afford to pay for that.
Issues. Sorry, yeah, and I can't afford to do the same thing. So, WhaleShares and the null and WhaleShares and the null account and buying your Steem from an exchange are 3 examples of what already occur with that. So I think that as we document use cases, like here's a prime example. This new user wrote an actually good post. It didn't get recognized. He joined the Beyond Bitcoin network. He became a speaker and talked about his project. He was awarded WhaleShares as a result of being a guest speaker. And now his next post where he was talking about his awesome, cool app like eSteem or something of that equivalent, he now got recognition for his app as a result of presenting his project on the Beyond Bitcoin show, and he deserves to be recognized, and everybody loves the app. So this is great. Everybody wins here, and that's where we could document that and say that's a prime example of why WhaleShares was created.
Yep, and I'll say this to you: you are somebody who really listens. You pay attention. You understand what you're doing and what you're talking about. I'm looking to reward people who write these. And I'm telling everybody right now, like, you could literally go through this Hangout and cut out pieces and show people, like, this is the answer, and they can even listen to it instead of having to read it. There's so many things that you guys can do to help with this that you'll get upvotes. You're going to get paid for it, and just kind of make a public knowledge campaign, like a public awareness campaign about it, right?
As usual, you read my mind, Fuzz. I was about to ask IntelliGuy if he wanted to do that.
Well, that's good coming from you because you're not much of a delegator. You're too much of a doer, man. But I'll let you talk about some of that stuff because you have been working on delegation quite a lot lately.
I am planning to do something like that, and I will do something like that as soon as I clear the air with a certain somebody that I want to have a one-on-one discussion on that doesn't become a grandstanding event in a public channel. And once I can understand what concerns he has and we can have a legitimate conversation instead of a yelling match, then maybe if I can get his support on the idea, then we don't have this wrestling match that seems to be going on in the beta phase of this whole project.
Well, I'm gonna be very clear.
Good luck.
Well, I'm just going to be very clear here. When somebody comes in here and directly lies to the people when we have it recorded, I normally don't really care what they have to say about it. I don't put much importance behind it. So you do what you want to do from a neutral perspective, but I'm going to say that drama sells, but I think personally I don't want to have anything to do with it. And
no, that's why it would be private. That's why it's a private conversation, and because drama doesn't sell when there's only 2 people there.
Oh, that's true too. Well, with that said, Walrus, what are you getting into? Because you're doing a lot of stuff too in this, and you were the one who joined up to talk about this. And there's, both of us are, talking a lot about it. But you're doing some stuff with this too. So I'll just step back and I'll let you go ahead and talk about what's up.
Yeah, one of the things we wanted to make this accessible to the little guys out there, especially the ones that are creating really good content. So we've been having a lot of contests so the winners are rewarded WhaleShares, and so that people can get rewarded for their good content and get good content created. We've actually had incredible amount of community support. Like, there's been a little backlash, but the amount of support we've had from the community has been amazing. And it way more overpowers any negativity that's been thrown our way.
Which has been substantial and quite unfair. I have to say it because it's true. I don't like to say it, but it's true. You work hard in this space. You try to build value. You show people consistently that you build value. Look at Dan Larimer's the perfect example on this. How many people hate him, even though he's about to build something that's going to show Ethereum how they should have done it, right? Like,
not to mention the fact that the same people that are attacking WhaleShares came up with something that does everything they complained about WhaleShares about, and doesn't have any of the backup self-regulation features that WhaleShares does.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that, because that's an important point. The backup self-regulation features that WhaleShares does. What backup self-regulation WhaleShares features exist or will exist?
Well, like I said, given the tokens for people that help the community and with our contest, so they reward good content creators, kind of make sure it gets out there in a lot of good ways. And WhaleShares can be used to downvote. So if there is some crap out there, people could use it to take it down. While this other one is just, you send them some SBD and they upvote your post no matter what it is, and there's no regulation at all with it. There's no community behind it. It's just a money-making scam, pretty much.
But what happens is, and I want to be clear with this, if you want to buy WhaleShares, WhaleShares is the beta version, right? This is the first community token. I'm suspecting, honestly, Walrus, I like to take things slow and steady. Obviously, people who've been around here know that. I want to take it easy and make sure that we get it done. And done well, but I would like the beta to be about 2.5 to 3 months while we get everything polished, the user experience polished, get people working on providing articles on how to use it, tutorials on how to use it, maybe eventually having like idea competitions on new use cases for it. Maybe even having hackathons on how to hack it, how to misuse it, so people see how it's going to be done, and we know, kind of like we've gotten immunization shot to it, right? Without all the additives and stuff that cause cancer. But I just have to throw that one in there, right? But yeah, man, we're going to enable eventually, after that, other whales are going to be able to have their own tokens. So we didn't do this just for us. We're doing it to show people how we do it, because we know what we're doing. And we're going to build communities with it. And then we're going to unleash it on the entirety of Steemit and Steem-based applications that utilize the voting features. And it's creating, like I've said since day one, for all the people who've been here since day one of Steem, we came from BitShares, and I said BitShares and Steem are going to be like the yin and yang to one another. And look where we are today, fellas and ladies. Anyway, Walrus, I need you to speak and cut me off and be as completely willing to just butt in as I am.
Okay. Sorry.
No, you're fine, dude. You're fine. Like, I appreciate you being so patient and nice. But yeah, dude, you're the one who's wanting to talk about it too, right? So
yeah, mainly I wanted to come because people had a lot of questions about it. So I wanted to come on to answer people's questions for a lot of things.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and I'll step back and let you answer some questions, and maybe I'll add some things in. But sounds like maybe IntelliGuy, maybe you have some more, maybe some other people have some more. I know Instructor 2121, you're going to be somebody who's a very solid candidate for using these.
I'd like to hear anybody else that's in this channel right now that's willing to talk on the air to basically say, what is your feeling of WhaleShares? Is it like what are your concerns, or what are you happy about? Somebody that's not the three of us.
I'd be happy to give my opinion. I think it's a really interesting idea. I'm listening to what I'm hearing about it from everybody, because there's been a lot of good points made here. For one thing, like what's already been said, it's the problem of it being abused to reward a post that's not a good post. That's a non-issue. Steam already it'll be downvoted if that's the case. That's not even a problem. So I thought that was a good point. But also the other things too about it are clear. It is the way kind of Steem works. It makes sense in a lot of ways for you to be able to. It's a different way to be able to invest in what you're trying to do on Steem. I think could maybe be a bit of an argument made about how does it add value to Steem it. It seems like you add a little more value by trying to post, making good content, or just getting voted by good content. But this is just another avenue to try to contribute in that way.
I'm glad you brought that up too, because I wanted to say that one of the best things about it is, since whales can then monetize their steam power without having to power down, that'll keep a lot of steam out of the market. So with less in the market but the same amount of demand, it should raise the price of steam a good amount too, I would imagine.
I'd also like to mention one of the problems with whales is a lot of people have never experienced what it's like to be a heavy whale on Steem it. But if you were a heavy whale and people knew who you were, you probably get bombarded in your email account all the time. Hey, buddy, can you look at my post? You get so much people asking you all the time, can you upvote it? Can you upvote it? It's really good. Can you upvote it? And being a whale, being pestered all the time, you just may not have the time. Some whales have time to go curate themselves and be like, anybody that emails me and asks for an upvote, I'm not even going to listen to them. I'm going to go find the post myself. But there's a lot of whales that actually have a lot of steam power, and they do it for investment because as steam increases, they believe in the system. And as we've seen, Steem's price has increased repeatedly, nonstop. We were at 7 cents like back in January or something, or I don't remember, 15 cents in January 2017. And here we are in June 2017, 6 months later, and we're near $2.50 a steam. I'm like, wow, look at that. So what we need to do is respect the fact that not all whales can curate, and this might be a better, fair system where Fuzzy said this isn't just about WhaleShares coming from his account. He plans the WhaleShares project will be able to support other whales with other tokens. I'm not really sure how that's going to work, if it's the same token name or their own. But every time he says we're building this for everybody, I believe him because that's what he does all the time. He builds things for everybody. So there you go.
That's how we get rich, guys. It's like, even if it's so mind-boggling that people don't somebody said it perfectly in chat in Discord the other day. They said, we've pulled up on an entire new continent and we're fighting on the beach. We're fighting over the beach, rather. And the cool thing is, people who are trusted, you start being able to, like what you guys were talking about, Walrus said it's going to increase the price because fewer Steem is on the market, right? But the value proposition and what makes Steem so valuable, everyone, and I want everyone to realize this, is Steem's value is very strongly based on the value of SP to people. So if we give people a reason to, an actual reason to invest into Steem power, right? Because, for instance, I think this is a great reason. If I'm somebody who's retired and I want to maybe I want to build something that matters, and I want to use some of my retirement to do that, but I don't want to take out of my retirement and power it down, so to speak. And maybe I want to put it into Steem because I think that's a great way of me changing the world a little bit in my twilight years while I'm relaxing and I'm retired. And I can actually give out if I have $1 million worth of Steem power, I can give out, let's say, $300,000 a year to people without ever powering down, without ever taking away from the value of my account, because I'm always adding these extremely valuable people over time. We have the troubles and the struggles, but we identify those people, and we make sure that they're a limited problem. And overall, the value proposition just grows. And next year, I might have 400,000 and 500,000 that I can give out, and maybe I can give it out to loved ones for Christmas too, for just posting pictures of them with their dog. Who knows? But the fact of the matter is, if we get people who are buying 1 million Steem over the course of time because they want to power it up because they can utilize this like that, you're going to see it skyrocket.
I think that's a good point, Fuzzy. That like you said, it gives it incentive to keep Steem on the market off the market. as a whale, to stay powered up instead of powering down and use this instead. I think that's a really good point. I think there's several things that are going to be really interesting for the future of this project. One thing I would be curious, like if there will be a token. Ned has talked about tokens, community tokens on Steem. So it could maybe even be something like that, possibly. I'm not sure if that lines up or not.
Oh, actually, you weren't here during the earliest days of Steem, but the idea of community tokens emerged from these Hangouts. I'm no longer allowed.
Not a surprise.
Yeah, I'm not allowed in the Steem Slack anymore. I don't know why, but it seems like 3 days before they announced community tokens, I was knocking on the door trying to get back in. So just for the record, everyone, you can go listen to our Hangouts in the earliest days. People don't come on here from the Steem It Inc. crowd, but I suspect they listen quite a bit.
That's interesting. Because it's clear what you can do with BitShares. This way you can create a token, which obviously there's so much value in. It looks like now Steem and EOS are going to be trying to do that too, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, here's the thing. We all have ideas, and nobody's idea is unique. And I don't say that I'm the first person who's ever had the idea. But when you got something pretty much guaranteed from someplace, it's nice to give credit. That's all. Kind of like citations,
Sure.
I mean, IntelliGuys actually talked about it quite a bit with respect to Sunny King, and Peercoin's a great example. And you have people who come out and they take Peercoin code and they literally copy and paste it and compile it and run it. And then they go, oh, we've got the craziest new chain. There's a few variables changed and it's a different name, but it's not Peercoin. It's nothing like Peercoin. They omit Peercoin ever existed. And they're the next new thing. And it's been something that as a community, all of us kind of deal with the entirety of this, right? But yeah.
But yeah, you did bring up a good point that I didn't even really think of, is how WhaleShares is a pretty much like a low risk investment, because you could monetize, invest in the Steem to get the Steem power. And it's good for Steem because then you got to buy the Steem. So creates the demand for the Steem, because that's the only way to get Steem power, or through posting. And then you can monetize that, and you never really have to touch your principal. You can keep your Steem power up the whole time and sell your tokens and all that good stuff, and reward the people that you think are doing good things.
Right, and obviously it's a good idea to to add value to Steem power. Another interesting thing for me to think about is this next hard fork for Steem, the equality hard fork, hard fork 19, where they're changing the way rewards are done to the linear rewards. So Steem power is still going to be the name of the game, of course, but you won't have quite as much. There'll be more influence coming from the people. So in a way, it will kind of diminish the influence. The whales will still have the main influence, which they should. Whoever has the most Steem, you want to incentivize that influence. You want people to want to have Steem for that influence, Steem power. But yeah, it's interesting to think about how those things are going to affect all these projects. I think in the long run, it's going to be good for all of them.
Okay, I wanted to answer Inertia's question. He's asking what kind of UI will WhaleShares have? And right now the UI is incredibly basic, because we just launched it a week ago, and that's what the beta phase is for, is to see what kind of features we're going to need. We already have a whole list of features that we're going to be adding just from the past week going, and I'm sure more will be coming up as beta progresses. And I'm glad that Richard Krill mentioned Hard Fork 19, because until a little bit after Hard Fork 19, because that's going to change some things, we probably don't want to come out of beta until after, at least a couple weeks to a month after that, to see how that's going to affect everything.
I just wanted to timestamp. I just wanted to mention that we were hearing from Richard Krill just now. That's Walrus is self-evident and Fuzzy self-evident, and by now people know my voice as IntelliGuy, what I sound like. Richard Krill, I looked at his blog just now on Steemit, and his wallet's worth $15,000. So he's an active Steemit person that really understands the system, and his nickname on there seems to be Altcoin Jesus. So this is a guy that's in tune with a lot of things, and so when he's giving his opinions on things, I respect his viewpoint because he's been around enough to see things. And thank you very much, Richard Krill, for your comments today on this project WhaleShares.
Thank you. Thanks for mentioning that. To tell you the truth, my Steemit account is now worth $15,000. That's more money than I've ever had in my life. Never even cared to make money that was backed by debt and war, to tell you the truth. Only in the last year, when I found Steemit and started making my first crypto ever, now I've invested in a few other cryptos, and I mean, crypto has literally changed my life. I know it's changed a lot of people's lives, and I know if you look at my wallet, it's a big deal to me. A lot of people, that's not a lot. For me, it's huge. Like, and it's just growing. Like, there's so much that can be done here. It's just amazing to me, and I think these communities are literally changing the world more than we realize. Like, there's so much we can do with all this.
At a very fast pace. I agree.
Well, this is a good place, actually, because Richard is up next because he has something that he's going to be talking about. But before I do that, Walrus, why don't you give us any closing comments you have and how people can reach you and the WhaleShares community, and anything else that you think we might need to cover that you and I haven't talked about today?
I think we covered it pretty good for now. I'll probably come back on next week and give some updates and stuff. I'll throw some links, especially people interested in the comments or in the contest. I'll throw some links to, if you follow my Steemit account and Fuzzy, which most of you probably already follow Fuzzy, and Mr. Wing's been doing some contests with us too. And I'll post a link to our Discord server, because that's the best way to get a hold of us. I'm almost always in there. I only sleep about 4 or 5 hours a day, and otherwise I'm usually in Discord. So, so I'll post a link to all that in the comments here. And unless anybody has any more questions, we can move on.
I'll just say that you can usually find Walrus in the Adult Swim channel. So just so you know, this is kind of our conference hall here in Mumble, where everybody has a free press pass because we believe in that. Even though sometimes it bites us in the ass, sometimes it really helps us too to be so transparent and honest. And with that said, you can find us generally in Adult Swim over there if you don't want to necessarily, if you just want to kind of hang out and maybe even be rewarded some WhaleShares in the future, because we do giveaways from time to time randomly within that Discord channel. So it's worth it to sit by and chill in there and keep your radio up so you can hear us all talk whenever we tell you that we're distributing some WhaleShares. And with that said, Richard Krill is going to be up next. He is going to be capping off this session before the Beyond Bitcoin after party begins. So Richard Krill is working on a project called Steemfest Dreams, and it says here how to announce it is, we are crowdfunding paid trips to Steemfest 2. And Steemfest 2 has been announced, but I'll let the guy who's following that be the one who speaks on it. So Richard, welcome today, and feel free to step up and give your intro and everything that you want to say, and we can maybe get some community questions and comments.
Thank you, Fuzzy. I'm really excited about this for this year. We did it last year, and we actually bought a few tickets for people to go to Steemfest, and we even made a donation to help Everlove go to Steemfest, which she's a member of the Garden of Eden, which has been a group that's done well on Steemit for good reason. They're a great group. But yeah, she came to Steemfest, her and Sarah Miller, and they did some cool things there. So that was great. And last year when Steemfest was announced, and I was I had got on Steem and was really excited about it. And as soon as I heard about it, I was like, wow, I would love to go. But I was just like, I don't know if I'll really be able to make it. I have plenty of responsibilities, job and, just time and money. Didn't know if I'd be able to make it. And then I saw about how you could earn 1,000, you would get 1,000 Steem for going. And so I made it a priority because I believed in the future of Steem, and that's paid off, obviously in hindsight. But at the time, that was worth around $200, which was pretty cool. Now that's worth around $2,000, and they actually gave more than 1,000 Steem. I think all participants got 1,900 Steem at that first one. So anybody that held on to that, my girlfriend and I both went. We both still hold that Steem. So well worth this for us to go, even though we had to scrimp and save, and we made it a priority. And I want people to realize that that's all it really takes. That you can go, and not only if you don't have the money to go, if it's something that just looks like a dream to you, but something you would love to do, I want to give you hope. You could go. You could totally go. If you could make a post and make your case for why you want to go and what it means to you and what you would do. And I mean, you can make money along the way. You can make posts about it and be rewarded the whole way. And I think it's just such an interesting way that Steem is adding this value. I mean, the Steemit platform has already brought on this really cool community. This onboarding has created a community, with more women than any other crypto community, and just a more diverse,
for sure,
community in general. So I think for the regular person, people like me, who look at Steemfest and just think, wow, I mean, traveling is another thing that I've always loved to do. And now because of Steemit, I'm making it my goal. I've already started traveling more. But anyways, that's a side note. But I think people would see the opportunity to travel to a different place and go to Steemfest and actually see these people that they're having all these great interactions with online. It's just huge. And I think over the years, as Steem grows and Steemfest grows, and Steemit grows, of course, Steemfest is going to become more and more amazing. And I hope Steemfest Dreams is there to keep making dreams come true. So that's the basic intro for Steemfest Dreams. And then this year I decided, last year I ended up donating most of the rewards we did myself, because I said, we're going to buy a ticket on this post, and then I didn't get as much votes as I thought I might. This year I kind of had a feeling, with the price of Steem, and Roland P supported the project last year, and he did this year too. And I just had a feeling that there was going to be more of a support for it. So the first post I said, we're going to crowdfund your plane ticket. If you want to go, you can go. We'll crowdfund the plane ticket. And that's, if you're flying from the States, that's going to be a round trip ticket. We're talking about some serious dough, a couple $1,000s, so that's a big promise. But I've got enough Steem. I could even personally do that for somebody now. But I had a feeling that we were going to get some support, and already the first post got over $400 and $400 value in upvotes. And then the second post, the report, where I started reporting on the budget and showing the entries and the upvoters and all that, it's already got $400. So, and with the leftover from last year, the Steem Power on the Steemfest Dreams account from last year, I mean, we're already well over $1,000, and we've just gotten started. So, and now just this morning, there's the new development. The Prophet Zero has joined, and the Agrode have joined up with Steemfest Dreams. They're doing kind of their own promotion, but it kind of all ties together. Agrode is doing one that's kind of his own, and then the Prophet, he has one that ties in with mine, and you could actually get basically an all expense paid trip through a combination of winning, from Steemfest Dreams and from the Prophet Zero's project.
I hate to interrupt here, but this is a perfect time just to say it, because I'm sitting here giggling like a schoolboy who just got into the candy. Because here's the thing, man. I remember you coming on almost a little bit over a year ago. No, probably about a year ago doing this. And it was a hard time. And I remembered saying that you just keep up with it, keep doing stuff. And you can already see just from 1 year and not giving up on just this one thing specifically, not even in talking about the other stuff that you were bringing up here. But you can see how much more effective and how worth it was for your time. Although it didn't seem like it was at the time, right? Can't hear anybody.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was pressing the wrong button. I just wanted to. I was saying, yeah, it definitely seemed that way to me at first when I was first trying to start it. And thank you, Fuzzy. You gave me confidence on that. I got on here and you took me seriously, and so I just
you
kept
didn't
doing
give
it.
up, so you have to be taken seriously, right? Like you have to be taken seriously when you don't give up, especially after you fucking fall, right?
Yeah, I mean, and because of that, because of the support I got from you, I kept going, and we didn't fail. We actually, as small as it was last year, we made a difference, and that's just going to keep growing,
Well, I think that there's a lot more tools that we have had built, so we can start helping more too, right? And I'm going to go ahead and mute you, Phoenix. I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on with your stuff, but it's cray. So anyway, no, I do appreciate it. I don't want to take a lot of credit. I do want to say that I'm glad to see that you persist and that you keep on doing stuff. And I think that people who watch people like you and Virtual Growth and Sir Lunch, man, there's so many of them in here. All these people who keep doing this stuff in the space, they're all starting to smile more and more because of the sacrifices they made turning into something that actually, it validates all the effort and sacrifice you put into it.
I couldn't agree more, Fuzzy. Like, it's amazing to see what's going on here. More and more people are waking up to what you can do on this platform, and in these groups. But yeah, like when Steem the price was down a bit, that's actually during the time when I gained more followers and more steam, that wasn't near what it is now. But I was still posting, and I was telling people, this is the time to post. This is the time to gain your stake. Because I don't think people quite realize what this is turning into yet, what this is going to be. I mean, Dan's vision is just slowly coming to fruition. I think as we continue to do projects like this, I'm still definitely working on the Steem purse. I'm just kind of waiting on the escrow, a really good escrow GUI for that, which I'm talking to a couple people right now that I expect that soon. But yeah, it's just great to be a part of this early on.
Yeah, and like you said, like it's my little brother had a similar experience to you in that he wanted to help me because he was in school and wanted to make a little bit of extra money, but at the same time, his job at the time paid more than the posts that he was doing for the amount of effort he was putting in them. And I was actually even gave him a dang template. So he eventually was like, I really can't because of my studying and everything too. So I'm just going to hold off on it. But even with the little bit that he did, I showed him the other day. I said, you see, like if you would have quit that job that paid you more at the time, and that little job, and just done that, but he couldn't, of course, because he wanted to have a steady job, because that's part of the real world, and it makes sense, right? But people who were posting in the earliest days, making, even a $5 upvote, for them, some of that stuff has turned into 10, 20x.
I can't tell you how long I wrote post after post that were zero and like just a few cents. Last week, I wrote a post that made $1,000, by far my biggest post ever. It was a huge accomplishment for me, and it was just about the next hard fork. And now people that I've been telling for a year, and it's funny, like you were talking about, it's kind of difficult sometimes to get people to, for one thing, just to join up, and then to start, trying to add value, some people see it and they want to just they want to throw up a post. Like I've gotten a few people to join and they threw up a post and they did okay. I had one friend in particular who, he was really excited. He immediately started typing up a post on his phone and he showed me what he was going to do. And I was like, that's a great start, but you should add some more to it, talk more. It was an introduction post. And I was just like, talk more about what you're going to be writing about and put a few more pictures in there and think about what you're going to add to the platform. And he listened to me and he went back and he worked on it a while and then he ended up getting not a whole lot at all, but for him, it was a big deal. It was enough that, he's going to keep going. I think some people get on, they immediately expect to make a lot of money off of just posting anything. And that's not really going to happen. You can make some money for sure, but it's going to take a little persistence to really make to get a following and to really even to just provide a quality blog that people are going to be coming to read.
I think that you're 100% right especially about people's intentions and their expectations coming in. But I will also say that I think it's something that it's important for us to recognize that we kind of prime them. There's a term called priming that kind of setting somebody up to see something a certain way or to have a stronger effect on them when they do see it. And you kind of prepare them to expect something, right? And we kind of prime these people by saying, blog and get paid. Because being paid seems like, I'm going to be blogging every day and I'm going to be getting a lot of money and I might quit my job. What I think we should say is join a censorship-free community where your savings become influence, right? Because that's what it really is. Put your savings account into Steem Power, and you now can build communities and reward people. That's a frigging amazing thing, especially if you're somebody who believes in the value of people.
Yeah, that would be a more accurate way to to describe what you can do on Steem. It's kind of interesting problem. You want to be able to tell people, look, you can do something amazing here. Like you literally can change your life. And even in one post can do something amazing, but you're still going to need to, come at this with, the way I've come at it, just putting in time, and my content has just gotten so much better as I've posted over time too, because I've watched what other people are doing, and I've seen, because there is actually a pretty good system for rewarding good content here. I mean, you have some problems. We've seen sock puppets and different things that people thought were not the best content, but overall, in my opinion, it has proven to be a pretty good mechanism for rewarding good content and putting it out there, which is kind of like and then it puts it out there on the internet, and it's a kind of a free promotion for Steem. And I think with this next hard fork, we're going to have more of a consensus, and I think the trending page is going to get even better, and so it's just going to continue to get better. That's why I've honestly, in the last when that was announced, I invested as much as I could in Steem again, and I even bought 1,000 Steem for my mom. Or my mom, actually, she bought 1,000 Steem because of what I told her at 20 cents, and I just recently transferred that to her account, and now it's already over $2,000. So little things like that, it's amazing what you can actually do here.
Yeah, well, out of curiosity, is there anything that you would like to say as far as Steemfest 2 and any people who are helping you that you'd like to kind of give credit to for any of the help that they're providing? Any information that people might need to know about Steemfest and your initiative specifically with this? You're starting to build this social capital, so might as well use it, man.
Yeah, sorry, I got a little sidetracked there. Yeah, to kind of wrap this up, the main thing is follow Steemfest Dreams, the Steemit account. That's when enter the contest and support the posts. And I'll be reporting on everything. It's all there to be viewed. It's transparent, so you can see. It's going to be really interesting, I think, to see how much support this gets, especially now that after I did this last year, I was the only one really doing this way this year. Now that I've put these posts out, I've noticed Agrode and, like I said, the Prophet Zero are doing a similar thing, and now we're kind of all teaming up. So it's going to be interesting to see what we can do. But yeah, to keep up with it, just follow Steemfest Dreams, and yeah, I'll be making a weekly report that's showing, you know, who's supporting this, and very soon we'll be announcing winners and what the packages are going to be. And so yeah, there's a lot to come.
I'd just like to make a quick comment. Steemfest 2 looks like it's November 1st to November 5th in Lisbon, and what you're basically doing is to try and help people get there, to make it a bigger and bigger success than last year, more attendees and more everything. And that's even people that can't afford it. And you're right, I went on to the Steemfest Dreams user on Steemit, and I looked at them, and the wallet balance is $187. And I'm like, well, they're never going to get anybody there with that. But then you're re-steaming a post from there that's currently at $400, and and you even edited the post and said it hasn't been paid out yet. So that 187 is going to turn out to be about $600 now. And with this talk you're doing now, you are actually going to be able to get more people there and fund them to get there. And you're not looking to fund yourself to get there. You're trying to fund other people. You're doing a fantastic job, and I really appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm funding myself to go there personally. This has nothing to do with. I'll be paying for my own trip. But yeah, that $187. That's what was left over in Steam Power from last year. The $400 on the first post that I did on my account, I'll be transferring every bit of that to Steemfest Dreams. And the second post I did on the Steemfest Dreams account, that one is already worth over $400. So there is already over $1,000 in the budget at this point, and that's all going to be transparent. I'll be showing every bit of that. And so, yeah, I mean, it's plus, you know, I think the Prophet Zero's post is already over $300. I think Agrode has a post already over $200. And people are making money on the posts that they're posting to enter the contest about why they want to go to Steemfest, and you know how they're going to do it, and mentioning the contest. So yeah, it's just getting started. It's going to be great to see what we do here.
Well, I would love to say, please reach out to me behind the scenes. I have some ideas on how we can help you. And as opposed to last year when you came and the market cap was, well, you know what the market cap was and how little resources I had. Now, baby, we have, thanks to all the people who upvote me and support what I do, and I can actually now pay for things to be built, and we have tools that I really want to help you with. So we can help you a lot more than we could last year. Maybe a little bit more than advice.
That's awesome, Fuzzy. Yeah, I'm really excited about everybody who's joining in to help, and I would love to have your support, because this is cool. This sounds kind of cliche, but it's true that every upvote here is going to support somebody's dreams. That's cool.
Yep, and the same thing for you, man. You guys we've got to get you guys there. I'm still busy building stuff, but when I have all my tools built, you guys are going to see me at those fucking things. But for right now, I'm going to sit back, do these every week with you guys, and build the tools that we all need. But once that happens, we're all going to partay at least once, right, Rodrigo? Okay, well, Richard, thank you very much. Seriously, all joking aside, IntelliGuy is 100% on point with this. We need people who are interested in building communities and giving to those people, because those people who look at things as resources, they want to do something. They're passionate about something. When you give them money, they don't look at it as money where they just go and spend it on something. They look at it as a resource they can invest in what they love. And that usually pays out for everybody involved. So I urge everybody to just keep that in the back of your minds as we move forward, and always try to empower those who you believe in. So with that said, guys, it's been an awesome formal part of the Hangout this week. We'll see you as always every week. And now I'm going to start giving the people who are guest speakers at these Hangouts some pretty decent size WhaleShares get rewards based on where they're upvoted and stuff. So be looking forward to that. And also, please feel free to join up the WhaleShares Discord during the week, where it's a 24/7 Discord, and we offer people the opportunity to participate first in competitions and to know about competition posts that we do, because that's going to be one of the chief means of us distributing these tokens. Some of them might be sold by us in the future, but the lion's share definitely will not be. So with that said, see you guys next week, and we'll go ahead and we'll start the after party.